Reddit. What was the worst thing you did as a horny teen? NSFW. When I was in 6th grade, before everyone had a digital camera, I had a 7th grader scan her pussy and send it to me. This is the most absurd and hilarious thing I've read in at least a week. Masturbated while tubing down a river. My family was 200 yards behind me. Was really young, right before I really learned how to properly fap, but still exploring sexual stuff. I would do things like hump my pillow or carve a hole into an earth bowl for my wang. All that was well and good until I tied my dick to my chair and then proceeded to trip over a stuffed animal, almost ripping my dick off. I still have the scars. Oh, the humanity. I tied my dick to my chair. I want this to be explained more. How was this supposed to go? Got an in-house suspension, which is when you have to sit in a room all day at school rather than stay at home. The room I had to stay in was attached directly to the vice principal's office. It had nothing in it except for a table and a chair. I was supposed to be doing homework all day. After a few hours of doing nothing and no one checking in on me, I beat the shit out of my dick. Came on the carpet. I had 2 of those in a row. In the first one I did like 2 weeks of homework. In the second one I read a 900-page book. It doesn't sound like you were a particularly horny teen. Unless the book was the 120 Days of Sodom. I had a friend in elementary school that had this. They checked on him, like clockwork, every 2 hours. He found out from another student that is how it worked. So the first 2 hours he did the piddly homework sheets he had, was in 5th grade, and then after the first check, he locked the door, set his watch to go off 5 minutes before the next check, and took a nap. He woke up each time 5 minutes before and unlocked the door and sat in front of his already done homework when they checked on him. Slept most of the day away. Being in 6th grade, he was a grade below me, and being his friend, I thought it was pretty cool, though I never tested the theory myself. I got 1 day in school suspension when I was in grade 4 or 5. I took a book I had read before, lay down on the couch, opened it to a random page, and put it on my chest. Then I fell asleep. When they came to check on me, I would wake up before they opened the door and quickly grab the book and start reading. When they left I skipped forward a few pages and fell back asleep. One time I didn't wake up until they already saw me sleeping, and they started yelling at me for sleeping. So I told them I wasn't sleeping. I was just trying to visualize what I'd just read. Couch. Casually reading your own book. What kind of in-school suspension was this? Not a very good one. It was more a reward than a punishment, being able to miss class. I got in-school suspension for beating the underside of the lunch table when a smoking hot teacher walked by. They called it simulated masturbation. I'm actually kinda proud of this one. I had a friend who was suspended from middle school for eating a banana suggestively. I feel like it says more about the person that gave the suspension than about the kid that got it. I once tried masturbating with a Neapolitan ice cream bar. Not sure why I thought it would help, but I did it anyways. Yeah, Neapolitan is a classic amateur mistake. Chocolate is too sticky, and has a low melting point. Start with vanilla, and work your way up from there. Find what works for you. When I was 12, I used anything I could get my hands on to masturbate. Pens, hairbrush handles, and, most memorably, marbles. I would just let them roll around. I was a weird kid. Edit. I was going through my drawer, and I found the same marbles. They're kinda gross. Hey honey, you ever notice sometimes Jessica sounds like a can of spray paint when she comes down the stairs? Received a BJ from my best friend's sister while he slept on an adjacent couch. I stayed over at their house a lot after the first time. I jerked off on a plane. It had internet on it, but they blocked all the porn sites. But they didn't block Facebook. Rookie mistake. American fucking Airlines. There was this girl I had a crush on when I was 13 or 14 that I sat beside in class. She had this habit of biting on her pen. I remember we were joking one day about how gross it was that she bites on her pen because she bit a hole in it and you could see her spit starting to collect in the tube of the pen. About an hour after that I grabbed the pen from her desk, took it to the bathroom, emptied all the saliva from it onto my dick and jerked off using her spit as lube. After I returned the pen to her desk. That is literally the most fucked up thing I ever did sexually. I remember I felt guilty about it for days, having went to Catholic school. You didn't fill the crevice back up with your jizz? Get your shit together, man. If I've taken a number 2 at your house or business, I was probably fapping one out. I swear I had a permanent erection in my teens. Why do they call it taking a dump? Aren't you really leaving it? Reposting my comment from a similar thread about a year ago. I was about 13. I was out fishing in the great outdoors, swimming through the water and fishing in one of these Bass Pro webpage things, so I'm partially under the water. I'd been out there for a while, and I got the urge. Odd, since there's nothing boner inducing about fishing. Perhaps it was a boredom boner since I wasn't getting any bites. Long story short, I jerked it. I came into the water and the current began to take it. It was no more than 5 or so feet away from me when a fish came up and ate it. I turned a rainbow trout into a cum-guzzling fish whore. Edit. Words. Now I'm wondering if buying a fish tank and some fish will make my cleanup easier if I just finish in the tank. I jerked off 5 minutes before class and ended up being late because I always bask for 10 minutes. I've done that before. Wake up in the morning, hit snooze, then rub one out. I'm always late to school cause of this. One summer, back in the glory days of teeming teenager sexuality, me and a few friends made a fake vagina of sorts. We took a solo cup and stuffed it with paper towels until a nice, cushy tunnel was formed. We then took a plastic sandwich bag and lined the paper towel tunnel. We headed on down to my friend's camper in the woods and each took a turn fucking it, swapping the bag for a clean one after each use. Where things really took a turn was when we ran out of lotion to lubricate our franken pussy with and used shampoo instead. Dick dried out so bad I got an open sore, and being 13 I couldn't keep my hands off myself to let it properly heal for a good 6-8 months. Edit. Spelling. I tried to fuck my couch when I was 13. Not even a throwaway, I have no shame. Oh man. I would have definitely thrown away a couch full of semen. Edit. I definitely spelled something wrong. Until I read your reply. Either it was coach. Context changed completely. I used to ride my bike quite a lot when I was a teenager. One day, I got this idea to ride my bike to my grandmother's house. It's about 8 miles, round trip, so I ride my bike out there, and sure as shit, they're not home. There's a huge hill probably a quarter of a mile long, and on the way down this hill I rode with no hands, and then it struck me. I shoved my hand in my pocket, and beat my shit until I came, riding a bike no-handed, down a fairly steep hill. I think about this quite often. And I'm so glad I didn't fall off my bike. Masturbated on a coach whilst everyone around me was asleep. I found out last year the girl who sat next to me wasn't. I'm guessing the coach was mad. Too bad you didn't do it in a couch instead. Two guys on a coach trip to Legoland just threw jumpers over their laps and went at it, aggressively. Everyone was awake. Sunny day, no worries. I found my mom's vibrator, and I was horny, so I turned it on and put it against my dick and rubbed up and down until I came. Only until my post-cum consciousness kicked in did I realize the horror. Took some racy shots of my boobs to send to a complete stranger. Unfortunately, despite thinking I had deleted them from family computer, they still ended up being viewable by my parents, who saw them. So embarrassing. Poured shampoo all over my dick when I was laying in the bath. Got some in the pee hole. Days of endless sharp jabs of agony. I made this mistake once. Just once. I figured, hey, this ought to feel pretty good. Finished. Then went to take a leak. As my urine traveled out my urethra, I saw the faces of myriad gods weeping in the cosmos for me. It was so excruciatingly painful that I pulled my boxers up, ran to the living room and said, I need to go to the hospital now. Mom asked, why? What did you do? I was so worried I'd broken my new pull toy that I didn't even hesitate. I was playing with myself and I got shampoo in my penis and I can't get it out. It burns like lava. Please let's go. Mom started laughing. In this moment where reality was singing me the song of doom and damnation, she laughed. Oh, it'll come out. Go drink some water. Your big sister did that too. The next day Mom had left a tube of KY for me on my bedroom TV and a note that said, don't waste shampoo on your Johnson. Oh, and of course, being my mother now, everybody I ever have come in contact with that she also knows gets to hear about it. Edit. My big sister didn't get it in her penis. Number. She got soap in her urethra masturbating when she was going through puberty. Don't waste shampoo on your Johnson. But, it says Johnson's on the front. Your mom got UKY? She is the most awesome person I have ever heard of. My mom just threw shit at me when she caught me jacking in the shower. Lem, try to fix your haiku. Shampoo on my dick. Infiltrating my pee hole. Endless agony. I masturbated with toothpaste. Don't ever masturbate with toothpaste. Luckily I was in the shower, so I was able to rinse it off immediately when the pain started. But at first it was a surprisingly nice lube. It burned for about an hour later. I've heard horror stories of friends that used icy hot. When I was 12, I was home alone and extremely horny. When masturbation wasn't enough, I walked around the house, naked, with a boner. I was looking for somewhere to put it in. After some searching, I saw my bicycle. I laid it down on the floor and pillow drived my penis into the peg. I only got 2 pumps in before I realized how terrible of an idea this was. I proceeded to feel disgusted with myself for the rest of the summer. Lots of people are bi-curious and it often results in pegging. Edit. Hooray. Thanks for the gold. I walked around the house, naked, with a boner. I was looking for somewhere to put it in. I think any self-respecting male has done this at some point. I don't think self-respect has anything to do with it, but yes, we've all done it. I had a really soft and fluffy blanket on my bed. I would get naked and lay on it because it was so soft. Then I started moving around and found out how great it felt on my dick. I would eventually start to come on that blanket. A lot. Several times a night. No cleanup. I just left it. My mom mentioned how dirty it was when she washed it one time. Edit. Apparently I'm no getting tagged as cum blanket. Fuck. Having this in your comment history is not worth the karma it gave you. posted before. But, this, a livable web page. Who hasn't tried to fuck one of those? I mean, women might not have, but other than them. In 8th grade, I saw a girl's boob touch the edge of her desk, not like naked boob or anything, but like fully closed boob, when nobody was in the room. I went over and licked the desk. I'm not proud of this. Been there, done that. What is the creepiest thing you've done involving a crush you have had without that person knowing it? AskReddit webpage. Dude, I've got a killer. Masturbated while sharing a bed with my mother in a hotel we got stuck in on a shitty road trip. I was trying to be super quiet, didn't make a sound, but couldn't stop my legs from twitching now and then. I thought I got away with it, until just after I came, when she rolled over, threw her hand up over her face, and started laughing hysterically. I was so embarrassed that I ran in the bathroom and threw up and then slept on the floor. She laughed at me the entire rest of the trip. What the fuck was wrong with me? I still want to throw up when I think about it. She says it's her fault for never teaching me anything about sex, the human body, puberty at any point in my life. But downloaded porn on my neighbor's DSL Wi-Fi back in the days when I had 56k. No regrets. My parents were worried I had sleep apnea. They scheduled a sleep study for me. They hooked me up to all these sensors and told me not to roll over too much. The nurse administering the sleep study was really fucking hot, and I could see her through the glass in the other room while I was supposed to be sleeping. She was talking to another nurse and they were laughing and joking. I couldn't hear them, but oh my god, she was unbelievable to look at. So, I rubbed one out. Had no idea they could tell by reading data from those sensors. Them explaining the readings to my parents was really awkward. Had sex with my then GF in the elevator of my high school. Since I'm wheelchair bound, I took her on the elevator with me a couple of times. One day we just decided to push the emergency stop button. Good thing the alarm was not working at the time. Willie, she joked. Yes, really, just roll with it. She pushed my chair into the elevator. It was the first tight fit of the hour. Going down, I winked. She laughed and pressed the button for the ground floor. After a few seconds she reached for the stop button. This was it. The elevator grinded quickly to halt. No alarm. We were dead in the water, and rigor mortis was definitely setting in. She jumped on top of me, biting and kissing. The confined space giving us a false sense of intimacy. There were no words exchanged for the next 10 minutes as we traded pleasure like two angry spice salesmen haggling, each of us sure we were giving the better offer and refusing to back down. Finally, we were spent. She straightened her hair, closed her shirt over and smiled at me. Was it good for you? The elevator started up again with a quick push of a button. So good I can't even feel my legs. I used to steal panties. Every chance I had to sneak off to some girl's room and grab a quick thong. I hopped on that shit. I plundered the drawers of middle school girlfriends, daughters of family friends, and friends' sisters. I still see some of those people, and I'll think about how close I sometimes came to being caught. Me, heterosexual male, and a couple of my friends went out one snowy night at age 13 and made a snowman with a huge penis. We all sucked his snow penis for about 10 minutes. We all got horribly sick and had to stay home from school for a week. I can't really say if sucking this huge snow penis covered with my friend's saliva is my thing or not. Better take my sweet time to figure it out. The part that you're not telling us is that Snowman was a local hobo's nickname, right? Frosty the Snowman had two balls made out of coal, with an icy cock, that I like to suck, and he came from the North Pole. My ex ha 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 ha. But I biked 8 miles a day for a whole summer to have sex. And stuck my dick in ice. Fucked a plastic baggie filled with Vaseline between the cushions of my couch. Straddled the couch arm and rubbed myself against it until I came. Edit. My friends found my account and will reference this post. My friend and I, both 17, double teamed a girl at a sleepover. The sad part is that my other friend asked her out the next day. Story time. So it's my friend's birthday, let's call him Bob. So Bob invites all the usual people. But Bob's sister invited her friend. So the party continues and I start talking to this girl. It turns out she likes me. I, being the player I am, go to my friend and say, I'm in their dog. Party ends. It's Bob's sister, Bob's sister's friend, my other friend and me. We are sitting on the couch, I playing with the girl, and Bob goes to bed. It just my friend, the girl and me. My friend then starts to fill her up. I'm sporting full cup. I take the back and he takes the front. 20 minutes later we are both done. Go to bed and get up. It turns out Bob asked out the girl. To this day Bob never know what happened that night. Used to build snow women and teach all the kids in my neighborhood how to go down on women. A lot of the kids got some hot women later on in life. Coincidence? I was on the bus to the youth church conference. FWB was in the same seat. It was like a 20-hour drive, so a lot of the bus was asleep. Well, she throws a blanket over us and goes to town with her hand. I start getting close and say, IDK, what we are going to clean it up with, to which she responds, don't worry about it, just let me know when. Somewhat confused. A few seconds later I tell her now. Her head disappears under the blanket. And that is how I found heaven. Edit. Highest comment ever, and it's about teenage sexcapades with a church girl and on my alternate account. Fucking figures. Edit 2. I must spend too much time on AskFWB equals friends with benefits. Also, just got back after a day. Responded to 07/08 comment. Waiting on clarification from them. Edit 3. Check with them. I have not met you. Username's a hard one, sorry to disappoint. Either this is way too common on church buses, or I know you. Did this happen in 2007-08? Edit. My most upvoted comment is because I was a church slut. Wonderful. 07/08 must have been a magic year for church bus action, or we all oddly know each other. Edit. The seat is still known as the jizz seat. In my mind it comes down to one or two things that I can think of. In my 8th grade Spanish class, everybody was kind of paired off with their desks, and I sat next to this one girl who I only really knew because of her boyfriend. We started talking some and it got kind of flirty, and I decided one day I would just whip out my dick. So I did that during class. I then proceeded to beat one off for her while the teacher was going on about one thing or another. That was an oddly invigorating experience. This one isn't completely the worst thing I did, but in 9th grade, my girlfriend at the time gave me a blowjob this public 2nd floor balcony that people used to enter and exit the 2nd floor of the building. Underneath this balcony was a restaurant, and being that it was midday, people were at the restaurant. I guess it was hard to tell when I would have finished because she was completely flabbergasted when I came in her mouth. She ended up going to the edge of the balcony and spitting it down to the restaurant seating below. We heard someone shout something up at us, but we bolted back inside before anything could happen. Definitely not some of my finer moments, but who hasn't been there? I used to watch the X-rated rap music videos and throw myself around my bedroom. Oh, to be young again. When I was 16 I pretended I was 18 and posted an ad on Craigslist. Hooked up with a 25-year-old. All kinds of illegal. Edit. So my highest upvoted comment is about me hooking up with a guy 8 years my senior. Thanks Redditors. Edit 2. So I've been getting a few messages asking me to clarify a little on the situation. And exactly why it was illegal. 1. We did anal. 2. He filmed most of it. 3. He actually paid me at the end. Good times. I superglued a golf ball to the bottom of my testicles to see what having 3 balls would feel like. Imagine my horror when I realized how fucking strong superglue binds to skin. Spent an hour carefully peeling before I just said fuck it and poured acetone all over it. That was one of the most painful things I've ever experienced. I broke into my ex-girlfriend's car, stole her sweatshirt and masturbated while smelling it. Totally haven't murdered anyone, I swear. Had sex with my younger brother, 9, and sister, 10, on my bed. We were all watching a movie, and I just kind of wriggled my pants down and my boyfriend entered me from behind and went slow. I don't remember anymore if he finished or not. Edit. Yes. I realize now how horribly I phrased this. Please forgive me. I am new to Reddit. Sex with boyfriend only. Fuck me, that confused me. Next time be careful with your wording next time. Had sex while my younger brother, 9, and sister, 10, were on my bed. We were all watching a movie, and I just kind of wriggled my pants down and my boyfriend entered me from behind and went slow. I don't remember anymore if he finished or not. FDFY. Phrasing oh my god, phrasing. I have a panty fetish. I enjoy putting the on and masturbating. I have borrowed dozens of pairs. It started when I dog sat for a neighbor when I was 13. I would put on her panties and then put them back. When my brothers got married and we took trips together, I would stay at home so I could put their panties on. This went on for 2 years. About 3 months ago on winter break, we were in Washington, D.C., all staying at a hotel. I stayed behind while they went shopping. As soon as they left, I went into one of their bags and stole a pair and put them on right there. I didn't know anyone was there until I heard my brother's wife say, "What the fuck are you doing?" It was the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me. She didn't say anything to anyone, but she still won't look me in the eyes. As a young, horny male teen, I could easily whack it 3-4 times a day, double that for the weekends. I was also fairly adventurous in my self-preservation. Having grown tired of good old lefty and righty, one night I made a game-changing observation. My erect dick fit snugly into an empty paper towel roll. Clearly realizing the cardboard tube would tear my woody to shreds, I needed some kind of lubricant. Shaving cream would become that game-changing implement of masturbation. Good old Barbasol would have worked fine, but I had something else. Edge-sensitive skin shave gel. Now guys, if you have used this product on your face, you know 2 things. 1. This shit expands like crazy, and 2. It leaves your face with a tingly clean feeling. So, having filled the roll with said lubricant, I began going to town. Not too long after, I began to feel the familiar tingle that has made this shaved gel famous. Except, because it was all over my penis, the sensation was multiplied by 100. I was horny and determined, so I fought through it. Ended up getting off and immediately taking a shower to rid my body of the zesty tingle. So word of advice guys, if you are going to use a paper towel roll and shaving cream as fuck toys, don't use shave gel. Use Barbasol. It's also way cheaper. TLDR. As a young, horny lad, I fucked recyclables and used shaving aids as lube. Quite long, but it's pretty interesting in my opinion. So let's get to it. I was 16, home alone, and a druggie. I did a line of booger sugar since I knew my mom wouldn't be home till late. Anyways, I got super horny and jacked off about 3 times. But I was still high and really horny, so I put on a Speedo I had from swim team. And while I was in the restroom admiring how fine I looked, I spotted something that could cure my horniness. A plunger. So I got the plunger and thought about how I would go about this. I figured it was way too dirty to just use as is. So I got a condom and slapped it on that bad boy. But I ran into another problem. No lube. So I went down to my kitchen to see if I couldn't find something to use as lube. Then I saw it. Vegetable oil. So I ran to the restroom, oiled up the condom plunger, stuck it to the door and shot that bad boy up the old poop chute. So there I was riding the plunger with my Speedo still on while whacking off ferociously, when it starts to stink to high hell. And I kind of got a grip on what I was doing. But I thought, hey, fuck it, I've already come this far, might as well finish. So I shot my load, wiped it with a Speedo and threw it and the condom in my dumpster outside, to never be discovered. After my moment of shame, my ass started to bleed and hurt like hell. So I did the only sensible thing. Another line, and then I shoved one of my mom's tampons up my ass to stop the bleeding. I decide to try relax after that horrendous ordeal. So there I am watching some TV in my room when I hear my mom walk in the front door. But she's not alone. She brought her damn boyfriend home. That's when I heard her yell, "Turnip, come and meet my asshat of a new boyfriend," so I freaked. I still had that tampon up my bumhole. But being high on coke, I figured, shit, I'm a damn rock star. I got this. So I go down there confident as can be and meet this huge brick shit house of man. All the while a tampon is dangling out of my ass. Everything was going well until I sat on the couch to chat. The tampon got sucked up into my abyss of a rectum. So I try to rush to my room as soon as small talk was done. But my mom dropped a bomb. She tells me that they picked up Chinese and they want me to sit and eat with them at the table. So I have no choice. As I'm sitting there, I feel the Tammy start playing prairie dog with my brown starfish. Then I felt the worst sensation to date. The blood and poop covered tampon came squeezing out of ass. Asshat exclaimed, "What the hell is that smell? Something dying here." I said the dog must have pooped somewhere and went to clean it up. I had to clench the poop and blood covered tampon between my cheeks all the way to the restroom where I disposed of it. I then promptly took a shower, then dismissed myself for bed. TL. Dr. Cocaine is a hell of a drug. It took me 15 minutes to read that because I was laughing, crying so hard. I decided I owed you gold for that. Thank you, I needed a good laugh, you sick bastard. I was 9. A boy at school told me and my friend about sex and masturbation and all that good stuff. He didn't really go into details, however. All I got out of it was that if you get naked and a bed is involved, you'll have a good time. So I got naked and sat on my bed. I sat there for a bit and nothing happened. So eventually I gave up and got up and bam, giant shit stain all over where I was sitting. To explain to my parents, I just told them I was changing my underwears and farted. Also, I'm a girl. Edit. For those asking, I actually did fart. That's how the shit got there. As a young teen, I fucked the screen to one of my friend's windows. I got my dick stuck in the, what I thought to be, smooth hole I cut. Scrolling through here, it seems it is mostly male posts about jerking it somewhere with something odd. What about as a horny female teen? I once fucked my curling iron. It had a really smooth tip, and I was a curious girl. I rubbed my clit with ice cubes while I did it. my mom came home early from grocery shopping while I was in the middle of having sex with my GF at the time and asked me to help her with the groceries. I tried tucking my boner in my waist belt and using a laptop as a shield to walk upstairs past her and buy some time for the erection to go down. She caught me trying to do it and yelled, "How many times have I told you not to have sex in my house? Quit trying to hide it, I know what a boner is when I see one." Thankfully this embarrassing comment made all the blood rush from my penis to my cheeks because she then made me go outside and bring in the groceries as is for punishment. Fuck my girlfriend in some cave at Disney World. I'm convinced we were seen but no one called us out, so I call it a win. Same night in the hotel, I fucked her again on the floor while her parents were sleeping 20 feet away. They knew. I got a weird grin and nod from her dad the next day. It was the kind of grin that said I would kill you but I really don't think your life is worth me going back to prison. Blowjob in TJE bathroom at school. Got caught 5 days out of school and the doors of all bathrooms got removed or chained open was a female giving me, male, a blowjob. And it's the initial doors leading into the bathroom, not the stalls themselves. I was on vacation with my mom and we were staying at one of her friend's house. There was only one room for us to stay in, so my mom and stepdad slept on the bed while I slept on the floor right next to them. We were all watching TV when all of a sudden the horniness hit me. I grabbed my iPod, turned on some porn, and started jacking it while I was less than 3 feet away from my mom. During the process of ejaculating, my mom asked me if I wanted to keep watching the show we were watching. I answered sure with some effort and proceeded to blow a massive load into my boxers. There was so much juice, I knew I couldn't just let it sit there, so I crawled out of the room making strange animal noises so it wouldn't seem suspicious. Wiped the jizz out of my boxers and went back into the room. Turned down a blowjob at 13 from a 15-year-old during lunch because I was nervous. We had a family party at my hot cousin's house one day and when nobody was looking, I went over to their key rack and pocketed one of their house keys. After the party I went to Home Depot and made a duplicate of their house key. Her parents got mad at the rest of the family a day later because their key was missing. So in the middle of the night I went to their house, put the original key on the porch, rang the doorbell, and ran like hell. Now I had to play the waiting game. The whole family went on vacation to Vegas for spring break, so this was my chance. In the middle of the night, after my dad dropped them off at the airport, I used the duplicate key to quietly break into their house. Now I was free to do what I was planning for the last few months. I immediately went to my hot cousin's room and stripped myself naked. I had this rush that I never experienced before because I was technically committing a crime while horny. I went into her closet and practically dove into her dirty laundry pile, rolling around in it, sniffing the fuck out of it, and thing my dirty teenage self could think of. I rolled around in her bed and jizzed all over it, while covered in her dirty laundry. After about 30 minutes I got nervous because I left so many lights on and saw a couple neighbors on the phone, staring at the house. I went out the back door and jumped the fence only to come face to face with another neighbor who for sure saw my face. He tried to grab my arm but I was too quick for him and I dipped. To this day I'm scared as fuck to go in their neighborhood, but holy shit, that was the greatest experience of my life. Worth it. That seems like a lot of work to get a quality fap. I applaud your effort though. Did you try tidying up after, or did you just leave all the mess behind? If I got home and found my room had been trashed, my dirty laundry messed around with and semen all over my bed, I'd feel really violated and frightened. I'd be terrified that the person would come back and try to escalate things further. I understand you can't go back and change things, But to be proud of it and describe it as the greatest experience of your life, I assume you are an adult now, is really worrying to me. Yes, I made her bed as quickly as possible and threw her clothes back into the closet. It was already messy, so I don't think she noticed. I didn't want the family to know that I specifically targeted her, so I made the effort to pick up after myself. All they know is that some teenage boy broke into their house, didn't steal anything, and didn't leave a trace behind, except for jizz stains. I honestly don't know if she ever noticed them or not, and yeah, I probably worded it wrong. At the time it was the greatest experience ever, but looking back, I was just a horny idiot who thought way too hard with his penis. The consequences of getting caught would have been astronomical. My family probably would have disowned me. Starting when I was about 10, I made my dog eat me out. I would do it regularly, several times a week, probably for a good 3 years or so. I often think about this and feel horrible. I had to make a burner for this one. Don't feel bad. I'm a male, and starting when I was about 10 or 11 I used to put peanut butter on my balls stick and let my dog lick it off while I masturbated. Even worse, we had horses and I would try to suck jerk off the horses while touching myself. I did a lot of kinky crazy shit when I was younger that I should be ashamed of. But I was also molested at a very young age, but I guess I'm kind of broken and don't feel bad for any of it. As a young teen, having never before been kissed, I only had a loose idea of what a vagina may have supposedly felt like. So in all my adolescent, sexually frustrated wisdom, I made a cocktail of all of the slippery soft liquids and gels in my bathroom, put in a cup, and fucked it. Two things happened. 1. This lotion shampoo soap monstrosity immediately went straight down my urethra and began to burn like nothing else I had ever experienced. I immediately threw it off of myself and ran my now deflated wang under the bathtub faucet in the vain hope of flushing it out. The second thing is that over the next couple days, the skin all around my genitals hardened and crusted, then peeled like some sort of molting serpent, leaving raw skin behind. I was tender and sore for what felt like forever. There are other tales, but that one always stands out to me. Throwaway time. This thread is quite old now, so hopefully few will read my post. I was 14 and I wasn't horny, but I did do this. Basically, for some reason, I ended up hanging out with the school psycho. One thing he used to do, and which I went along with because I didn't want him to kill me, was produce monstrous shit in the toilet. He would then take photos of the results and show it to people in school and occasionally the public, to show the world how psycho he was. Obviously, this was a guy who pissed in a subway cup in a mall, then left it on a bench. This was a guy who picked up roadkill, put it in a trolley and went around the park with it in the middle of the day. Eventually he cajoled me into shitting on his shit to make an even more monstrous pile. I didn't like it, but I didn't want this guy to make my life a misery. One day I was with Psycho Guy and my best friend at my house. He just came back from the toilet and he told me to add to the pile. I went in and could not shit. Him being the school psycho, I didn't know what he would do if I didn't contribute. Then a terrible idea came to my mind. I couldn't piss or shit, but I could always come. I spent 20 minutes in my own bathroom jerking it off to pile shit that had the viscosity of ice cream. When people on the internet speak of difficult faps, I snort derisively. Those fuckers ain't got a clue how hard it was for me. Speaking of which, you have no idea how hard it was to actually get hard in that situation. Eventually I had done it. I had sent my sperm off to die on some dickhead's mountain of shit. When I showed the results to the psycho, even he was disgusted with what I had done. He told people in my school, and I never talk about it with my best friend. I dare not tell anyone IRL about it, but in a weird way I'm sort of proud of it because I out-crazied the class psycho. That guy was a class A cunt. TL. Doctor, look at my username. Well, here goes. When I was around pre-teens or early teens, I went searching through my mom's room one day after she went to work. I found her vibrator, and I think I may have had a bit of an Oedipus complex going on there. I essentially sucked off the vibrator and then came into her bra, which I then threw in the laundry bin. I also masturbated to some homemade porn of her that I found on our computer, but I don't think that was as bad. I had sex in a church during the service in the baptismal bathroom. Don't even regret it. Well, last weekend I had sex with my best female friend an hour after she lost her virginity in a hookup with my fraternity brother. That's either a real low point or a real high point for me and I can't decide. I was a normal odd young gay male. I never really did much out of the norm, besides an encounter with a blow-up Godzilla and a hot dog. One thing did stick out, pun intended maybe. I was 16, in high school and living with my parents, in the basement. Didn't get too much time to myself, but when I did it was fun. Two things that are fairly integral to the story. I never had my own lube, so I ended up sneaking upstairs and getting a bit of Crisco, and taking it back downstairs for fun. I found that if I got enough to cover my palm it would last maybe a week. We had an ant problem downstairs. I kept my sexy time stuff in a Foot Locker, ended up putting the lube on a piece of paper or the outside of a Ziploc bag, and I made my deposits into a sock. Curtain rises on a dark night with the lights off. The rents are asleep, so now is the time to strike. Not wanting to raise any alarm, I kept the lights off and felt around in the dark. It felt different than normal. Maybe because I was like a masturbating ninja. The rush of being so super sneaky. And boom goes the dynamite. Finishing. Wipe. Make my way to the bathroom to wash my hands. A gentleman must have some standards, right? I turn the blinding lights on, fire up the hot water tap, and look down at my hand. Little black bumpy things are all over it. Using my advanced teenage intellect, I surmise two possible outcomes. Either my hand had absorbed the magical powers offered by a deep cleansing pore strip, and my little D had some oxy on the way, or I've taken my first steps towards being a serial killer. I washed off my horrible secret and retreated back to the scene of the crime to find, with the aid of the light and the clarity of an empty sack, my Crisco had been seasoned. It was like mashed potatoes being covered with pepper, except the potatoes were a cold lump of vegetable shortening, and the pepper was ants. Now that I think about it, I think they were trying to make off with my sock too. I threw away all the evidence and vowed to never speak of the time that I was rubbed for his pleasure. Read. 16-year-old me would never think of posting this story. 30-year-old me, yeah, didn't matter. Had sex. TL. DR. It was as if millions of voices suddenly cried out at once and were suddenly silenced, and then a 16-year-old let out a post-fap grunt moan. Perfect timing. I will relay this story that was just posted on the UC Santa Cruz Confessions page. Ugh, I've been so horny lately. Today I kindly asked my roommates to leave the room for a bit so that I could make a quick phone call, but they refused to leave. Stupid ass bitches. So then I decided that I would just leave the fucking room myself so that I could find a place outside where I could finger myself without having to worry about anybody bothering me. As I sat down, I noticed that there was a banana slug climbing up the tree that I was about to lean up against. And then I got an idea. I'm the kind of girl who gets off better when a dude gives me oral anyways. So I decided I would just put the banana slug on my clit and let it do the work for me. OMG. It felt so fucking good. All those tentacles stimulating every fucking nerve. It was the best oral I have ever gotten. Might as well stop looking for a man. Cause he ain't gonna live up to that shit. Everything was going great until I queefed really hard and the slug fell off my cooch onto the ground. Then I started to feel a little guilty, like I harmed the slug in some way. I got up and left because I lost my horniness after seeing the poor slug facing upside down, trying to regain its positioning. As I walked back to my room, I realized that I had just been cruel to an animal. I felt kinda bad. I shouldn't be messing around with slugs for the sake of pleasing my kitty. This is my apology to the universe. Lesson learned. Me and my GF at the time were out of condoms but really wanted to fuck, so we decided to use a Ziploc sandwich bag as a condom. I am a homosexual who studies in an all-male school. Homosexual acts are frowned upon by everyone here, but ball-peen activities such as slapping, punching and grabbing are fine. I sexually gratify myself by abusing my attractive victim's nuts. The reactions that guys make: moan in pain, make funny faces, walk in a hilarious manner, and instinctively protect their balls from any more abuse, thus making rather awkward postures. It turns me on a lot. The worst thing I ever did? I was in my friend's house, doing a project. I found my friend to be attractive, so I would frequently give him a bow tap. Sometimes, I hit him a few times in a row. He was focusing on the project tap, he was drinking water slap, we were eating lunch triple punch. Honestly, I hit him so much, I lost count. Why didn't I stop busting my friend? He never made me. At most, he just covered his junk from any more abuse. But after a short while, he takes his hands off his crotch and becomes very open again. His usual reaction? Make a very loud moan as he makes a nice face. Eyes go up, mouth opens, bend in pain, twist his legs to ease the pain, and the most attractive part, hold his junk to shield it from any more injuries. Whenever he caresses his injured baggage, he grabs his crotch and makes it go up and down. His bulge going up and down, along with his facial expression, posture, leg movement and the moaning sounds, as well as his physical structure. Oh, how gratifying.